I'm on the Bills bandwagon here in 2019. They nailed it again with this 2019 NFL draft. What's going on, Bottom Line viewers? It's Mitch here to give you my grade, my analysis for the Buffalo Bills 2019 draft. And as I said, they nailed it this year. Again, I felt like they nailed it last year and had a great draft. I think this year they did it once again. The Buffalo Bills, since getting Sean McDermott, they've been a very interesting, intriguing team, and they've been making steps to becoming sort of that team that are going to replace the Patriots at the top of the division. I believe that. You know, a lot of people are going to say the Jets, but I think the Bills are on their way even sooner than the Jets. I think the Bills are kind of sneaking under the radar, especially with Josh Allen and their free agency, which was very sneaky. This draft, I don't think was as sneaky. I just think it was good. So let's get into it. Let's start off with the first round with Ed Oliver out of Houston, defensive tackle. Ed Oliver, to me, if I had to give like 3 players that I think could go to the Hall of Fame from this draft class, Ed Oliver has the potential to be on that list. Now, Ed Oliver could be a bust. Who knows? I don't think he will be. And I do think that he did address a need for the Bills. I think they did need a pass rusher. And to get him as an interior player, some may say doesn't necessarily address the need. But to me, he does. Because Star Lotulelei is not a pass rusher. Harrison Phillips is not a pass rusher. Ed Oliver is that type of, again, he's been compared a lot to Aaron Donald type of player that can be a game wrecker, can be a game destroyer in the interior of a defensive line. So I love this Ed Oliver pick here in the first round. I think, like I said, can be an all-pro, can be a Hall of Famer. He's just a beast. He's freaky for a defensive lineman. He runs insanely fast for a defensive lineman. He's big, but he's quick and he's savvy, and that's why he's getting all these comparisons to Aaron Donald. And looking at how he fits on the team, he's going to instantly start. He's going to instantly be one of the best players on the defense. He's going to play all 3 downs. You're going to have Starr come in there possibly on run downs for support against the run. You're going to have Harrison Phillips in there occasionally against the run. But when it comes to rushing the passer, you're going to see a clear difference from your interior rush. And that's exactly what he gives you. Sean McDermott loves D tackles. He loves big defensive linemen. And that's what he gets here with Ed Oliver. In the second round, the Buffalo Bills address their offensive line with a steal of a pick. I was just excited for the Oliver pick and the Ford pick. I mean, the same for both. When I saw that the Bills got Ford, I was like, man, that's a great pick. Very good pick because Cody Ford, he can play tackle or he can play guard. I felt like the reason he fell is because a lot of people feel like he's going to be a guard in the NFL. But whatever, like either way, I think he's going to be a rock solid player. He played on Oklahoma, who arguably had the best offensive line in college football last year, in no short part because of Cody Ford. I mean, Cody Ford was absolutely awesome in college last year, and he is going to be good in the NFL, I believe, because of his strength, his power, his ability, and instantly, you look at the Bills' offensive line, and it's way better than last year already. Deion Dawkins at left tackle. They brought in Mitch Morse. They brought in a new right tackle. They have Cody Ford, a new right guard. So they basically replaced their whole offensive line. Plus, they brought in some solid backups like LeAdrian Waddle, like Jake Fisher. So I feel like this is a very, very interesting offensive line coming into 2019. How does the Bills' offensive line impact the play of their run game that was kind of lousy last year? How does it allow Josh Allen to develop and keep him healthier and keep him from getting hit? Because last year, the Bills' offensive line was one of the worst in the league. And this year, I think they can be probably not in the top 10, but probably somewhere in the middle of the league. And that's a huge improvement. So Cody Ford was a need pick, an instant starter, and a good player in the second round who should have been a first-round pick, in my opinion. Round number 3, they get a running back in Devin Singletary of Florida Atlantic. And to me, I'm not sure about this one. I think it's kind of interesting because LaShawn McCoy is at the end of his days as a running back. You also have Frank Gore, who's at the end of his days as well as a running back. So you have an old running back situation in general. You also brought in TJ Yeldon, who's a solid pass catcher out of the backfield. So Devin Singletary, I think we could see him probably play quite a bit if LaShawn McCoy goes down with injury. There are rumors that they could cut McCoy, which I don't think is going to be the case because I think he's too valuable. I still think he has some time left in the NFL to play pretty good quality, So Devin Singletary, maybe he's the future of the running back position, or he's just another depth piece because of the old bodies at this position and because of the injury risk of the running back position. Either way, I think it's a decent pick overall. They could have possibly, again, addressed their offensive line or possibly a receiver in this range. Maybe they could have went defense with a linebacker or an edge rusher, but I don't mind it. I'll take it if that's who they felt was their best player in the third round. And then in the third round, once again, they go with the tight end, Dawson Knox. And this was another pick where they had to trade up to get him, but this was the best tight end on the board at the moment, and they got him. Dawson Knox, I think, is instantly going to have an impact on this team, rather as the starting tight end or as a tandem with Tyler Kroft, who they brought over from Cincinnati, who's not a bad player himself. But those two, I think, are, again, going to be an upgrade over what they had. Last year, they had Charles Clay, who has really declined, and they didn't really have a second tight end. So now you have two tight ends, and you can basically be versatile with what you do in your offense and your offensive scheme. When you look at who the offensive coordinator is, it's Brian Daboll, who used to be a Patriot coach who, of course, the Patriots love to run multiple tight end sets. I think that's what they're thinking here. So they have two tight ends who they like, who they can put on the field and kind of add some versatility to what their offensive scheme is and add some formation variety. So that's a nice pick there in the third round, upgrading at tight end, adding some versatility to your offense, and adding a solid pass catcher for Josh Allen. In the fifth round, they add a linebacker in Joseph. Overall, their linebacker position going into the draft is not bad. It's not great. It's not bad either. Lorenzo Alexander is used a lot as a pass rusher, so he's kind of like a linebacker / DN. Matt Milano is kind of underrated. Tremaine Edmonds I really like as a young player. Julian Stanford's not bad, but they just add another body here. He's probably going to be a special teamer to start. He's a fifth-round pick. He's a little undersized, but he has some speed and fits the McDermott scheme. In the sixth round, Jaquan Johnson of Miami, a safety that goes and upgrades the deepest spot on their team where they have Micah Hyde, they have Jordan Poyer, a very good tandem there. Raphael Bush is pretty decent. Jaquan Johnson just adds some depth to that position and probably, again, another special teams player. I probably would have preferred with these two picks in the fifth and sixth round, maybe to just add maybe a high potential guy at receiver or a high potential guy at corner, something like that. But they decided to go with positions of linebacker and safety, and that's fine, I guess. In the seventh round, they went with another linebacker. He is more of a pass rusher, and this is a pick that I do like, Darryl Johnson Jr. The Bills do have a pretty big need in terms of a long-term pass rusher because when you look at it, they have Trent Murphy, they have Jerry Hughes, and Shaq Lawson. Shaq Lawson hasn't really panned out. Darryl Johnson will just add to the depth. Jerry Hughes is extremely underrated, had a great season last year. Trent Murphy's been banged up a lot, and they're not really certain about him. So adding Darryl Johnson, 6'6", he's a defensive end more than anything in this scheme, has some potential. He's athletic. So maybe, if he makes the team, he could just add to the rotation of pass rushers and potentially fill in a spot down the road. But I don't think this is a guy that's going to have an impact in 2019. Overall, when I look at it, I love their first two picks. Absolutely admire their first two picks. They're instant starters, they're instant impact players on both the offensive and defensive line, and that's where games are won. They get Dawson Knox at tight end, which upgrades their offense. They get Devin Singletary, who I think is an interesting pick. I want to see kind of how that develops at the running back position. And then they just add some depth at different positions down the line. overall, I have to give the Bills an A. I love this draft, especially at the top of it, and I think they got at least 2 players that are going to be instantly impactful, if not 4 players that will be instantly impactful, and some solid depth. So I love the Bills draft this year. I like the Bills as a team this year, and I think they're going to be pretty good. Gronk, spike the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's Mitch of the Bottom Line View. Thanks for watching, and peace out.